For the Players, the pop culturist PlayStation podcast is fueled by the Man Shake. I lost 30 kilos in 10 months using this meal replacement shake. If you want to support the show and Max and my weight loss journey, or to even start your own, click the link in the description below. The Man Shake. Real blokes, real results.
For the Players.
I'm Ryan Betson.
I'm Max Cooper.
And this is For the Players, the pop culturist PlayStation podcast with the 40 years of playing PlayStation, 8+ years in the games media combined. I'd like to thank you for joining us in this PlayStation conversation.
This PlayStation conversation happens every Monday morning at 8 a.m. on podcast services, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and 9 a.m. on those YouTubes. If you'd like to join in future conversations with us, come and check out our socials. Facebook, Discord, Instagram, and Twitter. All of those links can be found in the description below.
If you want to join us as the conversation happens, head over to twitch.tv/thepopculturist, where you can watch us record this show live, where you can join the chat and become part of the show. If you want to support the show, you can. Tell your friends, tell your family about this PlayStation pod. If you are on Apple, iPods and iPods. Yeah, if you're on iPods, what year are you in? But if you're on iTunes and other podcast services, be sure to give us a 5-star rating and a written review. If you are on YouTube, be sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment below. I endeavor to answer every single comment. If you want to support us financially, you can at patreon.com/thepopculturist, as well as our merchandise store, popculturist.com/shop, where you can buy shirts and other assorted shit with our logos on it. Hey, Max. We have a new table.
I know, right?
That's pretty sweet.
It looks great.
Yeah, so our good friend over...
Massive improvement upon the old table.
Very true. So our good friend over at Ethan at TAGmods, he reached out to me, I don't know, like 2 months ago or something. He's like, hey, I'm bored. I'm learning new skills. Do you need some things? I think I've talked about this in previous episodes. I was like, well, what do you got to offer? He's like, do you have room for a neon sign? I said, no, I do not. What about a desk? I'm like, I would love a new desk because the current desk sucks anus. It's literally chipboard with legs on it. He goes, let's make it so. And then he comes back with the design that you see in front of you, which is a dark, for those in the audio, it's a dark timber with the PlayStation symbols etched into it, which are then backlit by LEDs. So it's resin internals, resin? Yeah, so and then it is completely different to the shelving in the background, which is the plain black as were the previous ones, and then so this does create a nice separator between the front and the back of the set, which is nice. We are considerably fucked though if PlayStation cracked down on the use of the symbols, because they're right now on myself, on the table.
On myself.
There are 2 behind us, excluding the controllers. There's one over there off camera. Like, if they decide to be like, look, you don't have permission to use any of that, like, fair enough.
Ryan comes in the next day, he's wearing long sleeves.
Yeah, I'm just like, black it out, you know.
No. We'll just put the little sensor bar on.
Yeah. My arm has this constant fuzz to it, so whenever I move around, there's just this fuzz. Or a big tablecloth would also make sense.
We're definitely sensor barring everything.
Yeah, it's just blurry.
It's just blurry.
Everything looks like an ass crack in from a current affair. Like, it's just fuzzy shit everywhere. But it's not too bad. So yeah, big thank you to Ethan for putting this together for us. I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. It does feel good to sit behind because, unlike the other one,
it doesn't wobble.
Wobble. So you can jiggle it.
If I accidentally knock it, I feel like it's not going to fall apart.
Well, because what I'm sitting in here painting minis and shit, right? Like, I have a cup of water that I brush, and I do the brushing, and the table goes, like, there's more water coming out of the cup than there is, like, in the cup, and it's a fucking hot mess.
Nice.
Thankfully, so that's done now. But that does mean that I do have to live up to the challenge that you like. That'd be funny, and I thought I want to do it. So I will be going through that other table in a video for funsies. So in true wrestling style, I will go through that table, and it'll be funny. I'm trying to work out how to do it though. Whether I have my kid like try choke slam me through it just for funsies, or give him like super kick me. I want to have my kid involved somehow because I think that'd be a funny video like years down the line. So because we've got like a mattress around the house, we can lay underneath it so I don't eat too much shit. Because the falling through the table won't hurt; it's the hitting the ground that'll hurt.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on how we angle the table. Are we just going to stand the table up, Or are we gonna like angle it upwards and throw you backwards through it?
I was gonna have just like a table and go backwards and like back bump into it, but could have it up against something. That'd be pretty. I could just cannonball my way through it. That could work.
Get your son to Spartan kick you through it.
Ooh, give me. I was gonna get him to do it. I don't know how this would go because I don't want him to get hurt. But I was thinking about him doing a Meteora, which is where he puts your two knees on your chest and they push you back. So I was gonna like hold him by his waist as he jumps up, catches me, and I fall backwards into it. I thought like that
because that would be the safest way. You have him like standing. You like we could do it outside. You have him
outside.
standing on the table, on the table that's outside already.
Yeah.
And then have him kick you in the chest and you just jump backwards into the table.
That's kind of the plan.
That way he's way away, so he's not going to get hurt in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Until I push him off afterwards.
I've tried to map out the bump in my head and like it looks reasonably okay. But yeah, the table, like there is a support beam. If I remove that support beam, a soft breeze may just break it in half. Like it
may break as we stand it up.
You go, you're like,
it'll just collapse in on itself.
And the video will never happen because it just broke by existing, which is a bit poo. Speaking of wrestling though, so for those that do watch us on Twitch, you'll notice we are recording on a Sunday instead of a Saturday, and the reason being is because I once again went to the wrestling. I went to the Deathmatch Down Under in Ballarat, which was mad. This venue called Volta something. It was a tiny bar, so it had this. So half of the bar was just the ring. And then, there was it really wasn't even an overly packed arena either. They just had like 50 tickets or something. It was not even that gnarly. So there was like, you could get up to the ring. So we'll stand on ringside, which was brutal. So you get to pound on the ring. Like it just had that really cool intimate feel. And then of course when the death matches kicked in, then it's like, can you everyone just step the fuck back? Psh, and glass just goes everywhere. And it's absolute bonkers. But the standout of the story, so we had a whole day planned out, right? We had it completely planned. So we're leaving here at a certain time and we're gonna get to Ballarat because Ballarat, as I've come to learn, has one of the last remaining sit down all you can eat Pizza Huts.
Yeah, and it's garbage.
Oh, I imagine it is. So we were like, we're gonna have a big 90s theme, right? What was really popular in the 90s? Fucking wrestling. You know what was really popular in the 90s? Pizza Hut. And then all you can eat pizza because I've been in like 15, 20 years, it feels like, right? So, like, brilliant. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. Minor hiccup along the way. So we're driving through the back-ass roads on the way from Geelong to Ballarat, and it's majority just fucking fields and scrub. It's bullshit. We're driving down this massive road, and we're like fanging. It's like 80 k's, right? It's a fucking main highway. And we just see this dog just fanging it right in the middle of the road. We're like, that's a puppy, man. That's not cool. So, and like there's no houses nearby. There is nothing. So we're like, oh fuck, we can't. The dog near got collected by a car. Like we can't let this dog just run around. So we pull up right near it. I get out and I walk around the back thinking, because we know where it was going, I want to make sure it was not on the road. And I come around and it's fucking gone. Like, where the hell are you? And I was like, here I'm thinking we just encountered some ghost dog and we're going to die. No, turns out that dog, like, second the car pulled up, went, oh, sweet, and just dived in. And, turned around and he's sitting in the back seat.
Bit presumptuous.
Bit presumptuous of the dog. So, yeah. So, in short, we then spent the next, like, hey, well, we found a dog. It's 4 o'clock on a Saturday. Everything's shut because everything shuts at, like, fucking 11. Yeah, everything's not even open. So we're like, whoa, what do with this dog? Like, we can't just we're pretty confident it's been dumped because it was a tiny little puppy, man. Like, it was young.
Well, you were looking for a dog last weekend, weren't you?
That's the irony of it all, right? So, last time I was about when I gave my son a dog. So we went to the local animal shelter. They were shut. We rang them and they were closed. So they said, hey, if you found a dog, call this number. So we rang them, and after about half an hour, 45 minutes, the ranger comes and picks it up and takes the details of the dog, and she's all microchipped. So if they do have an owner somewhere, and it's one of those things, and they're like, look, if you call them, they don't want the dog anymore, call me, and I'll take the dog. Because like it was this lovely little like poodle Shih Tzu thing. I say lovely just because it's not really my kind of dog, but it was just super chill. Didn't bark the entire time we had it.
Like I got in my car. Like I feel like
It got him and when we tried to get it out of the car to go with the lady, like it freaked. Like it did a couple of like protected, like fear nips. Like didn't really bite. It was just frantic because obviously I'm confident has been dumped because like that reaction from that dog tells me that it doesn't want to get out of the car again.
Yeah.
And it's like because it's such a puppy. I think that my son would fall in love with it. And like we'd get to grow up together, and it would be lively. So I've done that pitch. Said, look, if no one wants the dog, because say if it has been dumped, and they're like, no, we don't want it, call me, and we'll take the dog. I didn't tell my wife at the time when I made that decision.
Ballsy. Bold strategy, Cotton.
It was bold strategy, Cotton. But I cannot let part of me just kicked in. I went, no, I can't have this. I can't. I'm not cool with this at all. Because it was such a sweet little dog. It didn't bark. It just came in and just snuggled up in the bottom of at the feet of the back seat on my jumper, just slide and had a snooze. So who knows how long it'd been out there? Who knows how hungry or thirsty? Like we tried to feed it some stuff we had in the car. We had some like jerky and some cheese and stuff. Because Craig came prepared. He didn't just have random fucking cheese and jerky in his car.
He's like, are you lactose intolerant? Maybe you just got cheese in your car.
So the reason being, because Craig was prepared. He's like, well, we've got like an hour and a half, possibly 2 hour drive to Ballarat. He's a slow driver.
Oh, I was gonna say,
we had to make a stop on the way. So he's like, I've got all this. There's some drinks, there's some snacks. In case you want to go that way. Cool. He's been an exceptional host for a road trip. So we tried to give the dog some jerky and some cheese, and he wasn't super interested. We tried to give some water, and wasn't interested either. So I think So I'm wondering if I'll expect a call this week. But in terms of what was interesting, so as we were driving from where we picked the dog up to the shelter, we just kept finding really dog relevant signs along the way. Like we went through like a Barclay Street, and there was a couple of different things. I'm going, someone's telling me something. I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not a big sign sort of fate person.
I'm not a big sign reader usually.
I'm not really a big reader.
Just wing it.
I don't really read things.
Yeah, but
I'm like, this could be something. And then because I want to get James a puppy. That was because I want him to grow up with it. But I feel the whole feel bad about puppy farms or whatever, or you should always rescue a dog if you can. And I know this team to tick all the boxes. But we were going to a wrestling show because I'm friends with some of the owners, and we're in this group. But myself and a bunch of other wrestlers and fans are in this chat together. So I messaged them. I'm like, hey, what's the venue's policy on dogs? Like, why? I explained. They're like, oh man.
You just like it can just come in and fight someone.
Yeah, and then we found out later that Jay. So after I spoke to them, they said they considered it, but they're like, what happens if some glass gets in the dog steps in? Like, even if we hold the dog the whole time, like what happens if the dog gets injured? They can't have not insurance, but personally,
of course.
They would feel horrible. Like fuck the other person in the ring that got hurt. That's cool.
The biggest question is what happens when the dog wins the belt and leaves. Never comes back.
So the dog's in presumably a safe space. There's and
unfortunately doesn't have a title belt.
Yeah, the dog is currently undefeated. I'm hoping I don't get a call, but I'm hoping that I do get a call because
I know that feeling.
Yeah, either way seems nice, but I kind of wouldn't mind the call.
Yeah,
it'd be nice because it would solve all the problems. Like, I need to get James a dog. And it's a puppy, and she was nice, and she was chill. She didn't be a bark. So it was just ticked all the boxes, but didn't go that way. Wrestling, on the other hand, great, fantastic. In the small venue was dope. They were clearly doing some sort of because it was their first time they've been to Ballarat. So they went a little bit harder, did some showcasey sort of stuff. They had. They had a wrestling action figure death match. As long as it had a wrestling figures attached to it, it was legal. So they had like a rack of I think it was 9 light tubes strapped together with action figures duct taped on it. So then it became a weapon. It was awesome. And then the final match, which is the main event, was a Ballarat Brawl, was the name of it. And one of the gentlemen in the match...
That happens every other Saturday night.
Yeah. So the other gentleman in the match was from Ballarat, and he took one bump, which was... It wasn't even a gnarly bump, so it was they had cinder blocks, which seemed really gnarly. They had that in the middle of the ring, and then they put light tubes over it. Mm-hmm. So the way he landed on it, he landed on all fours, and the chest is supposed to hit the light globe, so it pops the light globe, but it's not going to like pierce you, because they break pretty easy. They make a great sound when you break them. But he must have landed weird on his knee, because he was out. He was just like done. And like they're checking on him, and he is like, no, don't call the match. And like you could, knowing the people in the ring and the other wrestlers around, like I'm reading their faces. I'm like, no, he's shoot hurt. Mm-hmm. So in wrestling, there's two things: there's a work or a shoot. A work is it's all part of the script. A shoot means you shoot, like shooting from the hip. It's real. This dude was shoot injured like fucking hard, and he was just, because it was his first bump of the match, he was just adamant. He's like, nah, can't call it. Don't call it. But to their credit, they were like, no, you're fucked. We as the owners, no, you cannot compete. Mm-hmm. And then they were just like, well, what do we do now? And they called out to another wrestler to be like, hey, get your gear on, get in here. And then another dude stepped up. He was the first time he's ever been in a death match, because he had one. He was the first match of the night, and he stepped up and came in and did the main event as well. And they went bonkers because they had to completely call an audible, right? Mm. So they obviously Crusher, which was the gentleman's name, and Joel Bateman, they had planned the match out before and what the beats were going to be. So this kid didn't know that. His name was Will, and he was from Geelong. So he didn't know what was going on. So they had to call it beat by beat in the ring, and it was brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. I'm pretty sure like Joel got scalped a little bit at one point though, because he got thrown into a door which was covered in light tubes, and then there was just this patch of hair and bleeding. That was pretty brutal. So that was not meant to happen, obviously, but it was a really, really good night. Actually, I had a lot of fun. I do always enjoy going to the rest.
You're going back for more next weekend, aren't
I am. So Deathmatch Down Under have another show in Melbourne, in Essendon at the Ukrainian Hall, which their pay-per-views are always amazing. It's what's this one called? Peer Pressure from Dead People. It's like tradition, because it's a traditional. I love the name of it, because it's a traditional building in Melbourne wrestling, and there's always that call that tradition is just peer pressure from dead people. I quite like that as a name. But yeah, so if for those watched on Twitch, next week, repeat. We will not be doing Saturday. We'll be doing Sunday because of wrestling. And the week after, I think, is Craig's birthday stuff. So maybe the week after will be Friday, Sunday too. How's your week been?
Yeah, it's been all right. So my mum's been down. She left on Wednesday. So it's been fun having her down. Apart from that, nothing much has happened. I think I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that I was due to get my first COVID shot, and then they cancelled on me because of all the whole AstraZeneca stuff. They're like, oh, it's not suitable for people of your age. Call us back in a couple of weeks' time.
I got my second shot on Thursday, and I'm fine.
We'll give you some Pfizer. I'm like, okay. So I rang them on Friday, and they're like, yeah, you're not eligible for Pfizer. Guess who's getting AstraZeneca? I'm like, you couldn't have just given it to me 3 weeks ago. Like, you ultimately going to give it to me now anyway. And they're like, yeah, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Because that's the earliest appointment we can get you in. I was like, what? So that was fun.
Okay.
So that was awesome. So hopefully in 2 weeks' time, I will have my first dose, which I think is when my wife is due to get her second dose. But that's on me. It turns out... because of my autoimmune disease, I was actually, qualified to get I could qualify to get a vaccination.
The first round.
Like literally first round. And I'm like, I kind of forgot.
So I got my second one this week. I got it on Thursday, and I'm fine. The previous one kind of fucked me and just meant like I was achy, my arm hurt. And but no, I felt fantastic actually. I was kind of worried that I was going to get because apparently either the second one will either fuck you up or you'll feel nothing. Yeah. And I benefited out and I felt nothing. Even the first time I really wasn't that brutal. So I think there was this kind of...
I know Ali, like my wife, she only had a headache. She had the worst headache she's ever had in her life, apparently. Like it woke her up in the middle of the night. But that was gone after a day.
Well, because I think I've talked about it here as well. When I got my first shot, like I twinged the nerve in my neck the day before, so I just pilled up. So I was like, "Duh," and I slept through all what could have been the possible window of pain.
Yeah, that's it.
So I just dodged it, and I guess this time I just happened to be okay. Which, because as I was saying, like I think there's this like theory around it, like how you respond to the vaccine is the equivalent of what you would have if you had COVID, or it would indicate how severely you would get it. So it could have come out of this clean. I would have been that asymptomatic prick that could have infected everyone by the looks, because I came out fine.
You would have been that guy who went to like 32 different sites.
I went to 3 barbecue shops, 17 cafes, and 3 calls, and infected everyone. That's what would have happened.
But apart from that, nothing much has been happening this week.
Well, I was supposed to have my week off, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I worked 4 days this week.
Sucks to be. I also worked 4 days this week.
Yeah.
No, 3. I worked 3 days this week because I took Monday and Tuesday off, just because I could.
Yeah, so I was supposed to have the week off work. I ended up doing some stuff because there's an audit coming in the next week. So I was like, Monday, Tuesday was catching up on that. Wednesday I was in a meeting with Paris, my boss, all day, and then Thursday I had off. And he's like, "Hey, we're having this meeting on Friday. And we want you involved." Like, but I took leave for Thursday, Friday. He's like, "Well, do you want Monday off instead?" I'm like, okay. So I went to the meeting all day. That's it. So look, I didn't really have time to play games during the day like I originally intended, but I did play some games though.
Cool.
So this week I finally rolled credits on Outriders. So I sat down on, I think it was Thursday afternoon, and I was like, I'm seeing this through. Because I was like one area past the forest, which I thought was like the end point of the game. Nah, there's fucking so much more. And I was like, this is way longer than I anticipated.
You've got like deserts for days.
Yeah, there's just different desert maps. But yeah, no, it was so good to get back in the swing of it.
Yeah.
It said, having been away from it for a little while, and then coming back, it just felt, it hit me in that way that Division 2 did when I went back to it. And I was like, ooh, shit, yes. I'm like, ping. I'm just, because I played the entire game solo, just like the Division 2, the entire game solo. I was like, this is amazing. And I'm just, I think I finished up on like midway through World Tier 9, which was mad. I hit level 30, like just outside the forest, so I didn't even have to level up that much. I just kind of hit my cap early on. I've completed all the side quests. I've got all the historian shit, all that, all that's done. So now I'm pretty much just at a point where it's just end game shit. Yeah. Which is kind of cool. Like, I'm not going to spoil the end game, whatever, but I did go and do one of them, and there's that. It is essentially a wave design. So you go in there and you just try to get to the end of this level. Depending on how quickly you get through it, there is a different strength of reward.
Did you find the difficulty spiked in that end game content?
I found I got swarmed a lot more.
Yeah.
So like previously, like I would never have to like fist punch my way out of a scuffle, but like I was getting swarmed. I was like, all right, and then like, everyone cleared out, and then I had to like a lot of movement, which is fun though, because I did enjoy that. And then because by then, like I really hadn't changed my powers throughout the game. I kind of found my set and I liked it, and it was just keep powering them up the best I can. So yeah, it's like I did feel this great sense of synergy amongst it all. Like with the weapons that I had, because I've worked out very quickly what kind of weapons I like and how they work and what's the best for me, and then the best powers. And I just felt like everything was cohesive as I'm clearing my way through these things. Just kind of had this flow to it that I really enjoyed. And like there were some times where I did get a little bit like, which is part of that grind. And then you go back and you do it again and you push and eventually you come out good. And it was mad. I was very happy to see the credits in that one. Not in like but in like, because that was one of the ones I wanted to achieve this year. So that's my 9th credits for the year, which was cool. I did play some more Farm for Your Life as well. I did go back and I've now got 3 of the 4 gold tools. One more to go, but there's some game world events that need to happen before I can get it. Whether the ones I can kind of cheese if I just knew what I was doing. Once I work it out, I was like, oh cool, well, I can do this and then do. So I've got to wait for this one world event to happen. That'll give me the final tool, which will then let me do the one last thing, which will give me endgame credits.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, I've almost credits on Farm for Your Life as well. Game's still fine.
Game's still fine. Fair enough.
Not too bad.
I have been playing more Scarlet Nexus, so I've almost finished my second playthrough. So again, reiterating what I said a couple of weeks ago, that game has been fantastic. It is currently my front runner for Game of the Year. I'm really enjoying the nuances between the story perspectives, because obviously there's two protagonists and you see them through as separate playable characters, so you experience their stories in different ways, which has been really, really good. So I'm almost, from memory, I'm pretty much at the back end. Shouldn't take me too much longer to finish it. Yeah, the game's still incredibly fun. I'm playing it in New Game Plus mode, so the first half of the game was ridiculously easy, because obviously I was so over-leveled. Being New Game Plus, I don't lose any of my levels. I get to keep all my equipment. I get to keep all of the bonds that I created with my team, so I kind of just walk in and like stomped everything. The main reason why I'm playing it the second time through is to get that other story perspective. So yeah, that's been really good. Yesterday I played a crap load of VR because one of my friends is moving into his new house at the end of the month, and he's like, hey, really interested in setting up a VR room, but I haven't really had much VR experience at all. I'm like, all right, cool. So I did all the fun stuff, loaded up Beat Saber, loaded up Audicar. Audicar, for those who haven't played it, is Beat Saber, but it's skeet shooting.
Made by Harmonix, Tim and Do Rock Band, so bunch of good tracks on there.
Oh,
really
yeah.
Good tracks on there.
We did Keep Talking Nobody Explodes. Super Hot VR. And then we did some VR World stuff, and he played through what turned into Astrobot Rescue Mission. So that we did that for about 3 hours, just chopping and changing, giving a different perspective of using the move controllers and just using a standard DualShock controller to play in the VR space.
So you're playing on the PS5?
Yeah, playing on the PS5. So I had some troubles syncing my controllers because apparently I'd never done it before, which was bizarre because I played Doom VR on PlayStation 5. So I had to go and disconnect the other PlayStation in the house from the power because the controllers kept turning it on and trying to connect to that. And then, the whole preamble of where are all my bloody cables for this damn thing, and luckily my dongle just stays permanently plugged into the back of the PlayStation 5, so I can't lose my dongle, which is nice.
Fuck, where's my dongle?
And then other than that, I've been, playing the games playing the games that I'm married to. I'm still playing Rocket League, still playing Minecraft, still playing League of Legends.
But
probably too much.
With I am yet to play PSVR on PS5. Going back and playing like PSVR Worlds and stuff like these older games, is it clearer? Is it crisper? Is it better?
I'd love to be able to tell you, but I wasn't the one in the headset. I was chirpering.
Okay. Well, that ruins my line of question.
Sorry. I really wish I could help you out there.
How did they find it? For the first time, no one's ever played before. Like, so obviously for us, we've been around.
So I did the general questions of, do you get car sick? Do you get seasick? How good are you with like stuff like that? Yeah. He's like, I get pretty bad sick. And he managed to survive 10 minutes in Super Hot before going, I feel like I'm going to throw up.
Super Hot's fun.
And Super Hot is hard to wrap your head around because obviously the game doesn't move unless you move, but you only have to wiggle your hand to make the entire game play. So I can see that. Obviously, he had a great fun playing Beat Saber. He referenced the essential screen door effect. He's like, it is quite noticeable. I mean, he is planning on going for that higher tier PC VR. But, as an entrance point, PlayStation VR is still great. It does show off the tech reasonably well. We've been saying it here for the longest time. The only thing that really holds it back is the damn controllers that are now 2 generations old.
In the chat, I'm probably going to sell my VR before the new one comes out and get as much money as I can. Now, that is a good strategy. Yeah. Because the next one is, I think we talked about a couple of weeks ago, would be the back end of 2022. They're looking at releasing this new PSVR. So do we try flip it now? Mine just lives over there.
I originally had that thought, but then everyone has those trade-in deals. Trade in your old one, get the new one for significantly cheaper.
That's a good point.
And at this point, who Who is interested enough in the VR space who wouldn't already have the VR headset, who would want to pay for it now knowing there's a new one on the way?
It's true.
Is also the other complication. Yeah. I don't know. Good luck to you, though.
No, you must because anyone that would be feeling it would already have one. And how much, like if price was the thing that hesitating them, you're going to have to lowball yourself a little bit to get it moved.
That's it.
Yeah. Oh, that's better.
I mean, I was lucky. I bought my VR headset during the Black Friday sale, and I got it like for next to nothing.
Oh, I bought mine day dot. Yeah, I bought it day one, so that's when it was like it's bastard expensive. But thankfully, once again, we have been very lucky.
Yeah.
Maybe you not. I think because before you came on board. A lot of the games that we played on VR have been kindly provided to us for review, so it hasn't seemed as an expensive purchase overall, and I'm aware of that for me.
Yeah, of course, we are in it is a different situation for us. Yes.
Anyway, that's enough of what we've been playing. Let's get into the section we call Inform the Players, where we tell you about what happened this week in PlayStation. PlayStation's kicked off with a bit of bang this week. We talked last week. We talked about how they dropped all that news around the purchases, the acquisitions, and then a little bit later that week, they're like, hey, there's a state of play coming Thursday. So Friday morning, our time, 7 a.m., just before we record. Well, if we normally record it Saturday instead, today's Sunday. So a couple days before we record, state of play goodness, bunch of things. They came right out of the gate and said, no Horizon, no God of War.
They very much tempered expectations. They're like, don't hardware, expect anything like this.
And they pretty much aligned third parties.
Yeah, they said we're going to talk Deathloop, we're going to talk indies, we're going to talk third parties. That's all you're going to see.
Oh, as I punched the microphone, that was it.
So as Ryan alluded to, Friday morning, Sony held a state of play with the deeper look of Deathloop and some of the indie and third-party titles coming to the PlayStation in the near future. Now, these are not in order from what they were shown in the state of play, but let's kick things off with Death Stranding Director's Cut. So they showed off some of the new content that we're going to see in the Director's Cut. So we're going to get some new story missions. We're going to get revamped melee combat, some new weapons, new bosses, new buildable structures. They showed off
cargo cannon.
A cargo cannon, yeah.
Thunk in his fucking rocket packages across the world.
You can now build essentially bike jumps, so you can jump across the
ravines,
the ravines and the lakes and all the crap that's in your way. So that looks cool. There was a racing track that can be built and added to by the community. I can't for the life of me remember that lady's name.
Not Fragile.
For the Fragile racetrack, I think it is. So that looks awesome. Came out with with a release date, so it's going to come out September 24th. And after that, it was also shown that physical and digital copies for PS4 versions can be upgraded to PlayStation 5 versions for $10. Now,
beautiful.
That's not $10 Aussie. I would imagine that's $10 US. So
like 15, 20 bucks.
15, 20 bucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you upgrade to the Director's Cut? Would you replay it?
Yes. I'm definitely... So, the story content... in my mind, new story content means more lore for the world. That's enough for me to play it again.
Yeah, I'm in a very, very similar space. Like, so having essentially, so it being both our game of the year for 2019, I would 100% want to go back to this. I never did the platinum run because it was just too intense. I think we had to transition to something else at the time, so I lost that oomph to do it. But yeah, I'm keen to see because I'm wanting to see what these new story missions are. Somebody yourself. Pardon me. I'd like to see how it integrates with the likes of the DualSense controller with the haptic feedback and the adaptive control. So adaptive triggers most prominently, because the L2 and R2 were used to help steady you. So I think as you start to sway more or as your load is heavier, I would like to see whether that adds to the adaptive trigger. So it kind of makes it harder to keep your balance if you're carrying a bunch of shit. The new things you can build are really cool, like launch and shit. Would make life easier than having to.
Although in saying that, a lot of the crap that you had to carry was like, don't break it or you'll lose it.
That's what I
and
wonder,
then I'm like, I'm just gonna throw it in this cannon. I'm just gonna shoot it over there. We'll be sweet.
Yeah, maybe there's some safety in the capsule.
they've got little individual parachutes and they just lower to the ground.
Yeah, so I love that. Look, I will still argue, as I did last week and as I did the week before, what the fuck does Director's Cut mean? Director's Cut implies that this is the version of the game that the studio wouldn't allow, and the director had a bigger had this intense, it's a creative vision that wasn't the way the game turned out. I will argue maybe Ghost of Tsushima potentially, then maybe their scope was a bit bigger and they got to rein it in. But Kojima, nah, bro. Like, there is no way that PlayStation, especially with Kojima, his prestige, his like his status as sort of a what are they called? Auteur. Like, they're not going to say, don't put that in the game. Call this what it is.
Yeah.
Extended edition. If you want to use, look, if you guys want to use the true fucking what's it called? Like the movie moniker, because obviously that's what they're trying to invoke. They're trying to invoke the movie moniker. Go with the extended edition. It gives the same energy as Lord of the Rings.
Cut.
Yeah,
Still work.
yeah. Go Death Stranding extended cut, and like, to me that is, oh cool. There's more to this game. It's the same game but more. Director's Cut implies the change. It implies that there is a different version, and the base game itself will be different, or at least changed in some way, or that Kojima did not get the creative control that he should have had. Yeah. So I will argue that it's still dumb, but I'm gonna play the fuck out of it.
Oh yeah,
I'm a giant mark. Fortunate pin of that. We are on we are on Twitch, as we are every time we record the show. Delicate Stone, friend of the show, Lloyd, he's resubscribed for his 10th month. Thank you very much. And he also compliments the desk.
It's very nice.
Yeah, very nice desk.
Next up, we had Moss Book 2. So this is a direct sequel to Moss on PlayStation VR. It is in development for current gen PSVR with no release date given. So it looked like more of the same. Yeah. You're still playing as the little mouse. I can't think of his name. Quill. She. Still playing as Quill, and yeah, from what I can see, it takes off directly as after the game's the previous game ends.
Yeah, I really liked Moss 1. I thought it was this really cute game.
Yeah.
I enjoyed its kind of use of three-dimensional space within a 2D platformer, because you have to look around corners and sort of peek on how you want Quill to move and go through. Plus, it had this great little world building behind it as you sort of looked up and you saw what was behind the play area. It was really, really cool. Because I did see rumblings like, oh, is this a PSVR 2 game? I'm like, I'm sorry, this game looks not that good. So I guarantee it's a standard PSVR game.
Yeah,
I presume they came out and confirmed it.
I mean, in saying that, with what they've shown, you could safely assume that they're probably fairly far in their development cycle for the game. And if we're not looking at getting a PlayStation VR 2 until the end of next year,
it's coming out in the next 18 months.
It obviously is coming to current gen.
Yeah,
which is fine. That's fine.
Could be the big swan song. You know what I'm saying? Like the big final soiree. That's the right word.
Next up, we had Jet the Far Shore. So we got a new gameplay trailer for this, showing some third-person flying around the world, scanning objects. They showed some flying things attacking your ship, and then we got to see a small amount of first-person exploration. Yeah, so it really gave me like Flower Journey sort of vibes with because the idea is you're this little like Wipeout looking jet. Yeah, hence the name. A little spaceship, and you just traverse this world and different worlds, and you sort of take on and look and hunt and assess and collect information about the things around you. And it does have that, it has that like that feeling of tranquility, which is cool. Like if I'm certainly okay with games that may not have the combat or intensity. Like I enjoy games where I can just kind of chill and not have to worry too much about a fail state, so to speak. Yeah, because they talk about how like there is no combat. There are enemies that will try to attack you and you need to escape. You're not equipped to fight them. You must escape. I love that as an idea as well, because I do think games as a whole are almost too reliant on combat.
or shooting or killing or whatever. Not me being a hippie about it, but I would like to see some games that don't focus on combat and how you handle it. And I guess this technically has combat in it in some way, but it's not combat that you can get involved with.
Yeah.
And there, you know, because there is kind of No Man's Sky-ish vibes to it because it's just exploring a world and grabbing data. But they also mentioned that there is no resource management. So no combat, no resource management. What's this game? Not like a dismissive what's this game. I'm like, what's this game? Like, what is it then? Is it like, because that exploration stuff is pretty cool and that tranquility of it all could also be really, really nice. But like, what is it? What's the progression? Like, what's the end point? I'm probably going to play it because it looks like one of those. It looks chill.
It looks like one of those games you can kind of just sit back, relax,
have a pot on, and then just.
Next up, we had Sifu. So we got a new gameplay for that. So that was showing off its nightclub level. Was showing how every time you die or get killed in gameplay, you age. So I think you started from memory about 30. He lost a combat, and then all of a sudden he was 35, and that's to signify you learning from your mistakes because it is a roguelike game from what I can tell. Unfortunately, the game has been delayed. It was due out this year, but it has been pushed into early next year due to pandemic-related difficulties.
Yeah. So, Sifu, for those who may not remember, is the little ninja-esque game that was shown off a couple of State of Plays ago, or the last one, I think. And at the time, it gave me a lot of feels of what's it called? The Raid. You know, that movie and then there's mixed with that, which has also influenced the likes of, you know, the Daredevil fight, corridor fight scene and those sort of things. So that was the feeling that I got out of this. And watching it here, I love it. I love the idea from a roguelite perspective where you get taken out and then you don't die, you just come back to... You live to fight another day. You know what I mean? So I quite like that in terms of you just go back and try it again. You go back, but I do wonder, like... Is there an age window? Like you always start your campaign at 22.
So are you concerned that you can't be the 150-year-old badass that you want to be in the night?
That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, so you start you have to get as far as you can in the game before you turn 97 or something, right? A random ass number. So I love that as an idea because even though you can repeat and you can return, and to me that gives this real cool setting of growth, but with a pressure of time. But not a pressure of time as in a timer, as in just the overall... the time that is life. Which also could be this weird meta-analogy about, you know, life in general and how are we going to get everything we want to get done before we die. I don't think it's going to go that deep, but it might. But in the chat also mentions the beautiful announcing delay was on brand. So like throughout the clip, they showed like, you know, 32, and then would like, you know, almost like shut like an old clock into the next stage, and that's how they ended it. It was like 2021, early 2022. So in terms of a continued branding, I quite liked that as the chat mentions. You know, like you're clearly signifying that it's all kind of. It's very smart, very, very smart. But this probably is my standout game of the show, mostly because I was already excited for it.
Yep.
And yeah, even though we've seen a little bit of it, I feel they've barely scratched the surface.
Yeah, they haven't shown enough to basically lay it out of what it's going to be.
I remember Absolver getting well regarded. It's the same guys who made Absolver, which was also this interesting combat game. And like, I need to see how this combat works. I need to see, like, there's so much unexplained about Sifu that even if they show me something again within the next 6 months, so there's another showcase in, say, October, I still want to see it.
Oh, yeah.
It rocks up again.
Next up, we had Lost Judgment. So this being the sequel to Judgment, showed off an assortment of the mini games that will be available to keep yourself occupied whilst playing the main game. They showed off some boxing, some dancing, some robot fighting. There was some motorbike racing, skateboarding, and some dog-related activities. I don't know if you saw the trailer for this, but
I did.
The Shiba kind of, you know, won the show.
What caught me off guard here was how real it looked.
Yeah.
At the start, like it was one of those things that I was like, "Damn!"
So has this been on your radar?
fucking game.
This is a spin-off of the Yakuza series.
It is, yeah.
right?
So
And I've never been a really big Yakuza guy, so
I've not tried the Yakuza games yet. I did have a friend of mine lend me Kiwami and 6, which I never ended up playing.
I mean, the main reason why I haven't really, because I don't know in which order they actually go in.
Kiwami is your first one, I think. Kiwami is 1, and yeah, I know. Which is like I got free on PS Plus a number of years ago, so it's not as if I don't have access to it. Like Judgment looked interesting, but this looked great. Like the gameplay footage they showed, whether it be cinematics or whatever, looked brilliant.
Yeah, it really did.
And the only thing that blew me is the second they started talking, the lip sync was fucked. And I was like, is this real footage? And then they went, there it is. But yeah, it does seem to have the channel that very similar bullshit that Yakuza appears to have. So if you like Yakuza, fucking win.
So this is also set for a global release on September 24th. So usually we here in the West have to wait ages for those releases. It appears not so much this time around.
Mad.
Next up we had Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba, the Hinokami Chronicles. Very short gameplay trailer, just showing off some of the combat. It is coming to PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4 October 15th. I did not think it showed that well.
Yeah, it looked like shit.
It looked rough.
Hard pass on Betson. Mostly, because already it looked like generic anime game.
Yep.
Which I didn't like.
Yep.
And then the combat that they showed also to take place in the same room, and it didn't really look like good combat. They delivered the most anime voiceover that's ever animated.
Yep.
And I was like, it actually hurt me internally. So it really hit none of the boxes for me.
Yeah, so before the show we sat down and had a quick chat, and you're like, oh, this is right up your alley. I'm like, no.
Because you've not a Demon Slayer guy?
No, not a Demon Slayer guy. I haven't watched the anime, have no idea what the lore is, and I'm just not...
Oh.
Not for me.
Well, there you go. That's something new.
Yeah. Next up, we had Arcadegeddon. So this is a PvP, PvE third-person shooter game from the team behind Predator Hunting Grounds and Friday the 13th.
It's Ilphonic.
It has launched already in early access and launches for real in 2022.
Not for play?
Not for play. Looked all right. I believe it's up to 4-player co-op. It seems to be one of those hero-esque PvP shooters. I think from what I gathered, I could be wrong here, but they had PvP modes, so it's not always PvP, but
yeah. So there is a blog post on this.
There is a blog post.
So if you read that, it's written by I think it's the creative director, whose name I can't remember. But in the piece, he talks about how the original game that Ilphonic had planned got canned, sort of the back end of last year, and I think they kind of took a lot of the things from that to help rebuild this. So it does give off. I know it's such a generic and way to explain a game, but it gives off major Fortnite feels, right? And like whether that be for better or worse, it's up to you. Whether you like Fortnite, right? So it does feel a little thrown together. It does feel like that this is a sort of side thing for Ilphonic, maybe to help them as they get towards whatever their next project is, since their previous one just got canned. Because I don't think this is what they've been working on for the since Predator, right? So they've thrown this together in the mediary, and I think by having the
early access tag.
Thank you. Having the early access, they'll allow them to tweak it and make it work. So whenever it does drop, even if it never leaves early access, it's very similar like Fortnite, which is technically never left its early access. Like this will allow them to update it and tweak it, and at least give some potential to the game that may not have had for me.
A buddy in the chat adds that they've got PvP minigames mid-run, like similar to It Takes Two minigames, and the winner will get better loot, but you'll still jump out of those and continue your PvE runs, similar to like a roguelite loot.
Okay.
Yeah, that seems cool.
Yeah, why not?
And next up we had Fist Forged in Shadow Torch. So this is basically a side-scrolling brawler where you play a rabbit with a gigantic mechanical arm. This
is the one out of China?
Yeah.
China?
Yeah,
and,
so it was part of the China Games project thing. Yeah.
This looks mad.
Yeah, it does look kind of cool.
Like at least from a graphical standpoint, I'm like, this looks remarkable. Yeah, and then the combat looks rad too.
But I guess they get to focus on their character details when you're only building a 2-dimensional space. They don't have to, because not everything's rendered. They can really focus on those.
And this process more about me than anything. But what I love
Anthropomorphic bunnies that beat shit up.
I love when they use anthropomorphic animals, but they're not overly cartoon and or like fucking furry-fied. Not that I have an issue with furry. I'm not here to yuck your yum, alright?
It is actually more like Peter Rabbit with a giant fist.
It does. It looks like an actual rabbit. It's not all cutesified. It looks like a fucking rabbit. Like, is even Biomutant kind of fucked with it a little bit?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, to me, this still looked like an actual rabbit, and I dug it, and I was like, sweet. Like, Garen, don't get me wrong. You know, I was listening to another podcast as well, and they talked about how this is probably going to get furry-fied, and I guarantee you it will. Because you find something, and the furry community will give it a red hot go. But it looks interesting, and that comes out back in
September 7th. September.
Yeah.
Start of September. Next up, we had Tribes of Midgard. So the developer came out and spoke that once the game is available, they're essentially going to be releasing free seasonal updates. Adding new ways to play and fresh challenges for you to tackle. At launch, the game will feature Season 1, named The Wolf Saga.
That's not how it was pronounced.
Wasn't it?
No, because the woman that they had to do the voice of it cannot say Saga for some fucking reason.
Did she say Sega?
Sega.
Yeah. Well,
she said it about 15 times. I'm like, you couldn't redo this? Like, because you know that's not the words.
Yeah.
Like, this is fine. Ship it.
This is fine. Ship it. Indie. Should be right. So we'll be introducing new loot, a new class, and a new boss to defeat. This game is due to launch on PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4 on the 27th of this month. It's not for me. It's another one of those survival. It seems to be another one of those survival games where if you're not playing it constantly, you're going to get left behind by your group, and I just don't have the time to play those kinds of games.
Yeah, I get left behind in regular multiplayer,
and I have a real big problem with survival games that are janky.
It's like all of them,
and yeah, it's basically all.
You really haven't narrowed it down.
Oh yeah. But for those who enjoy it, yeah, it is coming out this month. Check it out.
Yeah, not a betting game, but yeah.
Next up, we had Hunter's Arena Legends. So this is a battle royale game all about melee combat with combos. This has been out for a while on PC, but it is joining the PlayStation Plus lineup for August.
Couldn't give a poo.
Yeah, I'm also the same.
I looked at it. I'm like, your naming convention blows.
I'm battle royaled out, to be honest.
Yeah, like this is the thing. Everyone was expecting this, right? Battle Royale hit its boom, and they're like, well, the next 5 years, we're going to see so many clones. And now we're seeing the dregs of those clones because they didn't try to jump on the ship.
They didn't get on the ship.
They didn't jump on the ship when it happened. The ship was already going, and they're like trying to paddle afterwards. So by the time their game released, the boat is long gone.
The boats hit the iceberg already.
Yeah, it's fucking sinking. They're like, but we have a boat now, like it's sinking. Fuck off.
And lastly, obviously, the big piece was Deathloop. So we got a long 10-minute gameplay walkthrough showing off an in-depth view of one of the enemies you'll overcome. It was one of the 6 or 8.
I think it's like 7.
Yeah. Anyway, one of the essentially big bads. They talk about how you can learn from your death, take different approaches to tackling the opponents, and how you play the game. The game very much looks like Dishonored. Again, makes sense. It is by the guys who made Dishonored. Arcane Studios, yep. And there was a quick confirmation at the end of the gameplay trailer that Deathloop's timed PlayStation 5 console exclusivity will run until at least the 14th of September 2022. Obviously, the game coming out 14th of September this year. Confirming that Arcane Studios' first-person shooter will release elsewhere thereafter. It makes sense that it will move to a Microsoft console, considering the fact that they are currently owned by Microsoft with the ZeniMax acquisition.
Yeah. So I didn't watch this.
It is very much Dishonored. It's Dishonored, but it's even down to the point where they showed off some of the teleportation and movement skills, and it looks exactly the same as it did in Dishonored. The game's a little bit more colorful. It does look like it runs a lot better. Dishonored is quite old now, so they have made improvements, but it is very much Dishonored.
Yeah, so I did not opt out of this out of disinterest in the game. I opted out because of saturation of this game. What the fuck is there left to show for Dishonored? What you saw in this state of play? Is it new? Did it change your thoughts on Deathloop? Was it the 10 minutes of gameplay that would just completely resell you on this game?
To be honest, it's a hard sell. So I'm already sold on this game. I really like Arcane Studios' work. I was always going to check this out. Now, I don't know if it did show new stuff. I don't know if it would have sold anyone who wasn't already in.
That's my point. Like, I presume it's some sort of back-end deal and why they keep showing this game so hard, but...
I wonder if it's to the point that Sony needed to show something, not being at E3, not being at Summer Games Fest. They had nothing going for them. They weren't showing anything. Is this
This is a big hitter for the back end of the year.
Because my first thought was when they announced that we're going to show Deathloop, I had a look at the release date for Deathloop. I'm like, oh, Deathloop's coming out mid-September. Horizon's not coming this year.
Yeah, that's how I look at it too.
That's how I looked at it. I'm like, if they're going to do a deep dive in depth, September is now, 4 months or 3 months away. This means that Horizon's either not coming before September
or it's December.
Or it's not coming at all.
Yeah, because the original.
I guess it could release December right before Christmas, but they have a stock problem. Like, why release a massive game like? I mean, I know it's coming to PlayStation 4 as well, but why release such a massive game right at holiday season when you can't sell consoles with it? Yeah,
and to add to that, like, so Sony don't want to do the 3-month cycle. 3-month marketing cycle, right? They've shown history where they want to give it some love. So it's now July. It's 5 months till the end of the year. If they have Horizon by the end of this year, they want to start marketing it now, right? So I'm with you. The game is not coming out this year, which makes me glad. So even double glad the draft is over. Because I would just be double, triple fucked. But it's just, I'm not feeling confident about that. But yeah, so I think this is what it is. It's a combination between a marketing deal, I believe, and additionally, it's them going, this may be our big Q4 seller. Like, we got nothing else. And that's how I read it. That's how I saw it.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat too. It seemed strange that this was the way they answered the lack of news from E3. They're like, although it is a console exclusive for us for a year, here's a game that's owned by our competitors. This is what we've got.
Yeah, it is one of those things when they made
obviously
the deal,
when they
whatever,
made the deal that wasn't the case, but it is the case now.
It certainly is the case now. So let us know what you thought of the state of play in the comments below for Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever. So what did you think of the state of play overall?
It was fine.
It was fine.
It was
absolutely fine. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't get up at 7 a.m. to watch it. I didn't do no live reactions or nothing. I was like, I bet this will be disappointing.
I literally forgot about it until I think Page put in the chat, woo, set of play, 15 minutes in. And I'm like, oh, there was a set of play.
I woke up and went,
I honestly totally forgot.
I opened up YouTube and I was like, saw all these trailers. I'm like, oh yeah, state of play. So I watched it, and I come out the same as you. I'm like, it was fine.
It was fine.
The fact that I just ignored the last 10 minutes of it kind of should say something. Yeah. I was like, I didn't feel the pressure to have to watch Deathloop stuff.
The thing is, when they, because obviously, like I said earlier, they tempered our expectations, saying we've got one thing that's an exclusive, the rest is third-party stuff or indie stuff. So it's not like it was one of their state of plays where they're showing us PlayStation Studios stuff. Yeah. They're just showing us what's coming.
Yeah, and as you said, this being the answer to E3 is a bit disappointing. Like, if this was what they were holding out for, I'm glad they didn't throw some of the businessy things in there, like the acquisitions. I think that would have felt very tonally fucked.
Yeah,
compared to the indies and whatnot. So
no, I think I'm okay.
I
think that how they set up their state of plays of just being kind of trailer is the way to go.
Yeah,
I think they should. There's nothing wrong with putting their acquisitions in a blog post, in my opinion, because that news is not for everyone.
Yeah. And to add to that, like, remember when they first did the State of Plays, they tried to do the direct style with the VO and the cool little, like, transition-y things?
Yeah, no one can do it like Nintendo.
Yeah, so, like, I do appreciate, similar to yourself, I do really appreciate that they're now gone over here and they're just like, it's a trailer, it's a trailer, it's a trailer, it's a trailer. You're done. All right, cool. Thank you very much. Bye.
Yeah, we know what you're here for. You want to see what's going on, and then you want to bail.
Yeah, no, I do appreciate that, though. But let's have a look. So, Shane in the chat, who just opened up his own gaming podcast. Congratulations, Shane. Solid C for me in terms of the grading. If we hadn't have seen Deathloop so much beforehand, it would be seen more positively. So exactly what we thought. I'm more confused why they just didn't wait to show Horizon Forbidden West at about the same time. Digital pre-orders for Horizon aren't live. So why not save it 6 weeks to include it on it for this state of play? Not sure why they're spreading things out. But he also adds, this definitely was not their answer to E3. If they do have one, it will be later in the year and would more likely be 1 hour of PS5 showcases from last year.
See, part of me thinks that they're spreading things out because they've got nothing.
Yes. It's exactly the case.
I hope that's not the case, but I have a feeling it is.
It really is. So, like, this is the problem. The problem that we have is, like, a lot of the first parties, they blew their load at the back end of the PS4. Really. They really did.
We know what the majority of them are working on, and it's not going to be here anytime soon.
Yeah, because if like off the top of my head, right, Sucker Punch, they just did Ghost of Tsushima. They've just done the extent. They're presumably working on the director's cut. They ain't got shit for another couple of years in terms of new releases, right? Insomniac, recent purchase, they just blew their load with Miles Morales and Ratchet & Clank. We ain't seeing them for at least a couple of years, and it'll likely be Spider-Man 2. Polyphony, we know Polyphony are working on Gran Turismo 7, which was meant to be this year. It is now not. It is later on. Naughty Dog, we have reason to believe they're working on The Last of Us Factions as well as the other potential remastery projects, but we are not getting anything major new from them in a while. Sony Santa Monica, they've got God of War Ragnarok, presumed title, meant to be coming out this year, now coming out next year, but no date. So that kind of locks that down. You've got Sony Santa Monica, which work on the baseball games, which they're quiet. They ain't doing shit. You know what I mean? Because like they will work on baseball again next year, and that's kind of about it.
The Bend.
You've got Sony Bend, who just got Days Gone kind of poo-pooed, and they're working on a brand new IP, which I can tell you, brand new IP, they're looking at 3 to 4 years minimum. You've got Pixel Opus. Pixel Opus did Concrete Genie, and they're a team of like 19 people, so they ain't doing anything anytime soon. We did hear they're working on something for PS5, so that's cool, but who knows how far away that will be. Studio London. The last thing they did was Blood and Truth in VR, and that's been a while, so maybe they're the potential next ones. But if we go back a couple of weeks ago, maybe they're working on something potentially PSVR 2, so we ain't seeing them until the back end of next year. Have I missed anyone?
The newly acquired Housemarque just released Returnal.
Yeah, they ain't doing shit. Like, don't get me wrong, next year looks good, but like they are clearly not willing to announce things until they are firmly locked in place. which
isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's rough when everyone's expecting stuff and they want news and they're not getting anything.
Like, not even expecting. Like, expectation implies entitlement. I think it's more of a, just tell us what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, we have, like, at least for me particularly, like, I have faith that you guys are going to make, like, I have faith that God of War is going to be great. I have reasonable faith that Horizon Forbidden West will be great. GT7, I don't care, but I'm sure it'll be great for those that love it. But I also think it's going to be outshined by Forza instantly.
Well, I mean, especially in the case of GT7 and Forza, GT7's already on the back pedal because it's coming out months after Forza is going to release.
Yeah, so I look at the and the taking X amount of years for it to make. So even though next year looks mad, it's just more of I think the reason that people want confirmation that they made the right decision to buy a PS5 right now.
Yeah.
Now, not everyone's going to look into the future and be like, oh, I know things are coming. People are like, look, I just spent $800 in the pandemic. Please tell me I made the right call.
Yeah.
And mind you, it's not Sony's responsibility to make that call. It's up to you. So there is that.
Yeah.
But like from a first party perspective, which are the big hitters of the console, the first parties is what makes you buy the PS5. PS5 or a PlayStation console, right? Because you don't go buy Xbox for their first parties because they don't have them yet.
Yeah.
However, like you go there for your Games Pass, you probably can go there for your third parties and you are fine. Yeah. Like the only differentiator that PlayStation has compared to everybody else is their first parties. And if they are not delivering on those first parties right now, then there is a real big question of what the fuck is happening with PlayStation. Like not in like a world is ending, the sky is falling scenario, but it's just like I appreciate your silence because you're not wanting to flood the market with hype, and I think that is correct marketing, but you need to give something. You can't they are not like the way that the marketing the whole PR marketing news cycle goes right now. They can no longer just sit there with their cards to their chest, right?
I think it would have been fine had there not have been an E3 and Summer Games Fest this year. If no one said anything, it would have been fine. But because we've had this massive info dump of everything everyone else is doing for the next X amount of months, and Sony's sitting over in their corner going and kind of just twiddling their thumbs, it does make it hard.
Yeah, because it's kind of like that scene in The Simpsons, right? When there's that brawl on the front lawn, there's that dude standing in the middle, like he hasn't done anything yet. Like, of course, when he does something, it'll probably be really cool. But it's just it is that long build one. Like, granted, the average consumer may not have the same quote pressure that we would. Like, we're like, hey, we want to know what the next thing is because like the entire design of what we do is built on the next, built on the next, built on the next, right? So like that's fine. Now, as I can see in the chat, Buddy is arguing that they have delivered already. And yes, they kind of have. They've delivered in the first 6 months. But as of right now, we don't know. And because everything moving forward is not just a PS5 release anymore. Like I'm this is not me having a big issue with the cross-generational thing because from a business perspective, I understand the need. Not enough people have PS5s right now. They need to spread that load so they can at least make some money. But if you bought a PS5 and you want those PS5 next-gen level exclusives, which I hate saying that word because it becomes a fucking, console war, it's just more a circumstance of like, then why'd I buy this?
Yeah, I mean, Buddy puts in the chat that the three exclusives that we've had so far is Returnal, Ratchet, and Demon's Souls, and people can't have those at their disposal, then complain they have nothing or that nothing is coming. In saying that, Demon's Souls is a remaster. It's a previous release game, so the only new games that came were Returnal and Ratchet.
Yeah, and at the time, Returnal was a second-party deal.
Yeah,
and so look, now in looking back, knowing the information we have now, these lists are great. I still think Ratchet is that big standout because I think from a overall delivery, it is the most people-friendly across the board release. Yeah. Right? Anyway, like your first two exclusives, quote unquote, were brutally hard games. For the hardcore audience, bingo, 2 thumbs up. But like from a general, we're getting really caught in the weeds here of that deliverable first parties, and Deathloop's coming. It is an exclusive now. You know what I mean? But like it is a weird line. Like I am being a little bit of the devil's advocate in this scenario because I can look forward and like I said, I know these things are coming. I know that's this and that's that. But like, it's just I don't know. It's just something about it that's just not. I'm not worried. I'm not one of those fucking clickbaity YouTube content creators that just complain the world is falling at any given time. This is how I'm just look at it now.
Yeah,
from where I sit is how I see it. Anyway, apparently Warner Brothers are not. They just want to sell their shit. So last year, you'll remember that Warner Brothers were looking at selling Warner Brothers games, which included the likes of NetherRealms and Tt Games and a bunch of other things, including Avalanche and stuff like that as well. Yeah. So it turns out their plans to sell NetherRealm Studios and Tt Games specifically are still in the works. This is according to documentation seen by Windows Central scribe Jez Corden. Speaking as part of a podcast, the reporter noted that the Mortal Kombat and Lego devs could be on the chopping block. Following a complicated merger, which will see Overlord, AT&T fuse parts of his business with cable company Discovery, which we've already seen take place. There has been some uncertainty around WB Games for quite some time, and it's unclear how recent these documents are. There's also no mention of potential buyers, which originally was the discussion around particular parties being involved. One of them being Microsoft, I think at the time, and there was somebody else as well from memory. Maybe 2K. But assuming the developer is for sale, Sony could potentially see value in at least NetherRealms Studios, considering its ownership of the fighting game tournament EVO. Very possible. I don't see it.
I don't see it either.
I don't know what NetherRealm would be worth. But
So NetherRealm have done Mortal Kombat and Injustice.
Yeah.
And I think that's almost it.
Yeah.
They're the fighting guys.
They are the fighting guys. And if you own the fighting guys, that would be mad.
Yeah.
From an exclusivity standpoint. But if you want to talk about, like, if people get shitty that, like, Bethesda games are no longer... Mortal Kombat 9 to 11 have been on everything.
I also feel
that's
calling NetherRealm their fighting guys is kind of like giving them short shrift, because they really do... Their stories as a fighting... in the fighting game genre are quite compelling.
I don't play them personally. I think it's just ultra-violence and not in a good way.
That's fair. Again, with Sony's part ownership of EVO, it could make sense for them to pick them up. If that's the case, I don't see it happening. I can see them working with them.
It depends. It depends if Warner Brothers are like, we're fucking this studio off regardless.
Yeah.
Right? If no one buys them, we shut them down. Then I think interested parties will pop up.
Yeah.
Right? If they get the option to go independent, then I would see second party deals coming up instead. I'm aware, Craig. He's giving me shit for being a deathmatch wrestling fan, but not liking ultra violence. Look, the issue that I have with Mortal Kombat is the fact that they made the development team just watch like fucking people get obliterated and then have to replicate that in a game. That is straight trauma inducing. And there is on the record people that worked in NetherRealms that have suffered PTSD from making Mortal Kombat, and I simply cannot condone that. That's fucked.
Next story. To infinity and beyond.
Fuck you.
I'm so good. Ubisoft appears to be taking plans for its incredibly popular Assassin's Creed franchise to the next level, as details for an upcoming online platform or game service called Assassin's Creed Infinity have been shared by Bloomberg. Launching no sooner than 2024, it will be a platform that houses multiple settings and time periods, with more added after its release. All of these titles will be connected in some way, but may look and feel completely different. The Assassin's Creed Infinity games will supposedly operate in a similar vein to current online heavyweights Fortnite and GTA Online, housing a large amount of content that is built upon in the years to come. In order to achieve this, Ubisoft Montreal, the guys behind Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and Ubisoft Quebec, guys behind Assassin's Creed Odyssey, are being unified to create one gigantic Assassin's Creed team with different creative directors. Quote, there has long been a rivalry between the two studios that has at times turned acrimonious, according to people familiar with the matter. So this shift may cause some headaches. Since the publication of Bloomberg's story earlier this week, Ubisoft has commented on the project and has confirmed that it is indeed in development. A statement confirms the Assassin's Creed Infinity codename and adds, quote, rather than continuing to pass the baton from game to game, we profoundly believe that this is an opportunity for one of Ubisoft's most loved franchises to evolve in a more integrated and collaborative manner that's less centered on studios and more focused on talent and leadership, no matter where they are within Ubisoft.
Sounds gross.
It sounds like instead of charging me $100 a year for a new game, they're going to charge me $100 a year for this live service platform.
Yeah. Like, see, this is the thing. Hey, look, if you look at the writing on the wall, this has been the writing on the wall for Ubisoft, right? None of what this looks like it might be is not what, like, it makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Like, they want to do microtransactions. They want, like, that's the service they're wanting to tap into. It's not about the game anymore.
You're gonna launch Assassin's Creed Infinity, and there's going to be one of those animuses, and you jump in. It's like, which Assassin's Creed do you want to play today? Do you want to go to France? We're going to Italy. We're going to Spain. We're going to China. Going to Australia. We're going to climb some Uluru. And, what are we doing? I like the idea of it. I like having this unified thing where they're all in the one space. What concerns me is that we're going to, instead of seeing, because for the longest time, Assassin's Creed, especially now, in the more recent years, it has been this big, massive, sprawling RPG Assassin's Creed game. I'm concerned that they're going to move away from that and just be like, here's a short chapter over here that's worth X amount of dollars that you can buy a la carte. Here's a short experience over there that's worth a little bit. Here's one over here. And instead of getting them annually or biannually from the separate studios, we're just going to see this flood of content.
See, I would argue what they're already making is literally the right amount of bloatware for a service, right? Like they just funnel extra shit at the back end.
Yeah,
they put a bunch of pay to make your time easier scenarios, right? So all they're essentially doing is the next step in the development plan, in the path that they were already taking for Assassin's Creed. There are many people that will love this. There are many people that will hate it. And I think if this becomes like an Elder Scrolls Online, but for Assassin's Creed, it probably will do really, really well. Like, I'm not like, this is not me going, ooh, it's good. Like, it will do well.
Yeah.
Guarantee it will do well. Is it for me? It's not for me. Because even though I like Assassin's Creed, or at least the recent ones, the time investment, the extra, there's so much that's required of them is just undoable for me.
Yeah.
And to make that this extra, like they're just going from 8 to 10. Like, that's all they're doing is they're amplifying it, and that's fine. But I do kind of like the idea of this. Yeah, two teams were throwing shade. They have to be in the same room, and they're like, "You remember that time I called you fuckhead?" I guess I'm sorry about that now.
Come on, they work at Ubisoft. That's not going to happen.
I'm sorry. Like, no one apologizes. That's true. That's true. No one apologizes for shit at Ubisoft. That's very true. That's very, very true. But, like,
butts have been the problem in the past.
Yeah. Look, I don't know. Look, I think admittedly it's just me being like, mew, because it's more of Assassin's Creed.
I mean, it was never going away, but
mind you, that's me looking at it cynically, right? From a more optimistic viewpoint, I do look at it and I go, you know what? That's not a bad thing. Because how long have you and I argued that the likes of FIFA should just be that?
Yes.
FIFA should be a live service game. You pay your $100 or whatever for the copy of the game, and then each year you pay $30-$40 for the new roster, for the new upgrades. Make it that. And Assassin's Creed, if they were going down that annual path anyway, why the fuck not? So, like, just like Destiny, you have that one copy of the game and you just keep adding to it. Like, that is the future of games, especially the future of annualized games. So I'm sitting here pulling on it, but I'd much rather that than, having to pay full price every year for a game, but they're not going to charge you not full price every year. The service model, that's the future of annualized games. So I'm sitting here pooping, but it is really it's actually if this was FIFA, I'd be like, that's fucking fantastic. Well done, EA. You're doing the right thing by FIFA. You're doing the right thing by Madden.
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed,
the EA
apparently.
Sportsverse.
yeah. I'm just demonstrating my hypocrisy. Speaking of Destiny 2, though, Bungie will be unveiling its next big expansion heading to Destiny 2 on the 24th of August, titled The Witch Queen. That's my mum. This will take the form of a Destiny 2 showcase, presumably via a live stream hosted on the usual platforms. The DLC in question is currently slated to arrive at some point next year and sports the tagline, quote, "Survive the truth." End quote. The date also marked. The date also marks the end of the current season of the Splicer, and will launch the last season before the Witch Queen's release.
Yeah, so the Witch Queen was supposed to launch this year, and then they're like, "Hey, pandemic troubles, we're going to launch it next year." And then everyone was confused because we're like, well, we're on the last season of the seasonal
Yeah.
content. What are you going to do? And they're like, we're just going to put another season in. So no one knows what's actually going to happen on the 24th of August, because that's when the new season's supposed to start that wasn't supposed to technically exist to begin with, because that's when...
Because there was
arguably
a big fuck of expansion.
That's where the Witch Queen expansion was going to sit. And now that they've pushed that, they've got to bring something else in. So it'll be interesting to see what they showcase next month.
It's Destiny 2 Classic, and then there's redo old maps again.
Well,
old raids. Old raids are suddenly open again.
Well, for the last... I think we've been in Season of the Splice now for 10 weeks. And each week they're releasing one new story mission a week, so it gives you a reason to come back each week. This week there was no new story mission. They've we're doing what they call their annual Solstice of Heroes, where they make you grind a shitload for some gear that sparkles in the sunlight.
Is it good sparkles though?
I don't know. I'm not grinding for it 'cause I can't be bothered. I'm like, I got on. I'm like, where's my new story content? I'm like, I'm out. See you next week. So now that they've got to make this season last until the 24th of August, which puts it at a 15-week season, they've got to bloat it every once in a while, and then the whole of the next season, which will have to last from August till presumably the end of the year.
Damn. So you know how a season's normally 10 weeks? This one's 10 months.
It's going to be very interesting to see what they have to show. Because I have a feeling there's going to be some dead time at the end of this year where I'm just not going to be playing Destiny because there's going to be nothing to do.
This is a really this is the
and that is the one problem with a live service game. If there is no content, no one comes.
Yeah, especially if we look back at using the same argument we just made about services, if there's nothing delivered, then they suck. Like the downtime between full game releases, everyone's like, yeah, that's fine, that's cool. This not so much.
Yeah. There's been ripples at EA. So DICE LA, the developer as of the yet unannounced experience in Battlefield 2042, has been officially rebranded Ripple Effect Studios as it expands and seeks to establish its own, quote, identity. In a press release, boss Christian Grass explained, quote, "We're so proud of our work as DICE LA, and the DICE team will forever be part of our DNA, but over the past 8 years, we've developed our own culture and our own way of doing things." Ripple Effect Studios is set to showcase its work with Battlefield 2042 at EA Play Live later this month, but beyond that, it sounds like it'll be tasked with a new project. Quote, "At Ripple Effect Studios, innovation and quality are at the forefront of every project, as even the smallest idea can change the world," Grass added. This is the defining characteristic behind the studio's new name.
I thought it was going to have to Choc Ripple, the cake. The Choc Ripple Effect. That's what it should be.
Sure.
So in the chat, to add on the discussion we had about Destiny 2 Nexus 2019, they've added, the way I see it, it is the human brain can only use X numbers of variables to make a choice. That is 100% true. Analysis paralysis is massive. So with over 4,000 games, 3 main consoles, and a few others now, and with large catalogs of old games, what do you buy when, and how do you remember it all? That's very true. Yeah. Like, that analysis paralysis is fucked. And there's a reason that, we kind of focus on one console. Because, back in the day, we tried to do everything. That's fucking hard. So we stuck down with what we loved.
There is the odd occasion where we'll pull the Switch out.
Yeah, but it's only mostly because it's farming games.
But the majority of what we do here.
Yeah, and even then, there are times where we'll look at PlayStation and be like, well, what the fuck? There's just too many things. Not right now, obviously. It's quiet right now. But, that is very, very true. And if you are someone that wants to play everything over everything, and
it's very hard.
It's very, very hard.
And very expensive.
So, I understand why if people just find the game that they like and they run with it, hence that service model, which is brilliant. And I think 2042 could be that again. I think Battlefield has that legacy of people be like, oh,
Battlefield has taken quite a break from their last release. Which may prove beneficial over the shitstorm that was Call of Duty last year, when they had one team working on the game and then went, that's not what we want. You're not going to get it done in time. We're going to flick it back over here to the Black Ops guys, but Raven Studios over here is going to do the story content for it, but they're doing the multiplayer content for it. And that's what happens when you have an annualized game that's worked triannually by 3 different studios. It can get messy.
Yeah. And once again, to add to what Nexus was saying, the idea of we have finite time. And if every manufacturer, every developer are making games that are all about unloading all your time into it, people will fall short. Like doing a release that is just of a game, you play it once and you're done, there's a higher chance that people will play it. Because I look at things and I go, oh, that's so much time. Like, I don't have that time. And I will not touch it. The game could be brilliant, but I ain't going to touch it because it's fucking long. So the idea of just, those small experiences that aren't going to drain me for the next 3 months or an ongoing
I had
demand.
that experience with Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Yeah.
I loved my time, but the game is too long. I don't have time to play it.
Yeah.
Like it's literally too long. I've a kid now. I have very limited time in which I play games on a daily basis, and I just don't have the time to sit there and finish an 80-hour epic. It's not happening.
Oh, do I get to do quick bits today?
Oh, doesn't mean I have to do the top 10 songs.
Yeah, switch it up. Quick Bits! After making its grand return to the PS Store on June 21st, Cyberpunk 2077 has shamefully become the highest selling title on the PS Store for the month of June in just 9 days for both the Europe and the US divisions.
Yep.
That's gross, Max.
Yeah. Didn't they not sell enough copies as pre-orders that people are still buying it?
How are people still buying it? Unless they traded in their copy... And then repurchased it. And then repurchased it now that it's better. Quote unquote better.
Yeah. I mean, there's still a warning that says don't play it on PS4.
Pro, maybe. 5 is okay.
Yeah. Apparently 5 is where it's at.
The latest PS5 firmware is available now. And of course, it does simply improve your system performance.
I can't wait till they sneakily just unlock the NVMe drive in it and just don't tell anyone in the patch notes and then be like, oh,
you did it months ago.
You did it months ago. You could have done it ages ago.
You're at fault. Yeah.
Oh, that reminds me, my hard drive is now full again because Call of Duty is releasing its new Zombies map, Mauer de Toten, next week on the 15th of July. So my hard drive's just died again. I had to install 200 gig of COD to play one map.
You have a problem.
Yeah, it's a lack of hard drive space. That is my problem. Yeah.
Among Us is to get physical releases with over 3 separate editions.
Yep, so there's the Crewmate edition, there is the Imposter edition, and there is another edition, and they look pretty cool.
So what is it?
So the Crewmate edition is kind of just like a standard special edition. You get a map, some postcards, some stickers.
It's trash.
The Imposter edition is the same thing, except you get a plushie and something else.
Plushie's nice.
And then the big one is you get a fleece blanket, you get a beanie, you get a steel case book, and then everything from the previous 2 editions. I think they're slated at like $90 US for the big end.
Yeah, the blanket.
Yeah.
Blanket's big sale. Sony is alluding to more announcements over the course of the next few months. Makes sense. Another state of play. And of course, when we hear about this Blue Point acquisition, you fucks. And then finally...
This is part of the same thing.
But, part of the same thing. So they've also added, quote, stay tuned throughout the summer as we'll have more updates soon, says Sid Schumann.
Yeah.
From PS Blog. They would say that.
They would say
I don't believe them, but say
it. All right. We have the top 10 best-selling games on the PS4 for the week ending the 4th of July. In number 10, as I scroll across because I closed it like an idiot. Number 10, we have Red Dead Redemption 2. Number 9, Rainbow Six Siege. Number 8, The Last of Us Remastered. Number 7, Crew 2. Number 6, Horizon Complete Edition. Number 5, Sims 4. Number 4, Gran Turismo. Is that GT Sport?
It is GT Sport.
That's GT Sport. Number 3, Grand Theft Auto 5. Number 2, NBA 2K21. And number 1, FIFA 21. And I have once again not done a thingo. Which is really bad because someone in our Discord chat...
Yeah, Excited Kumquat
full on linked me, and then I kind of ran out of time this morning because my kid lost her shit.
All right, whip me that mouse. I'm going to pull this up. Let's have a squiz.
Someone did my job for me.
Yeah, so Kumquat,
I still didn't do it,
is a fantastic listener of the show. They sent us through a list of what's coming, I think. And there's a website that could give us all the deets. Also, big thank you for Nexus 2019 for the follow, by the way.
I think it was
making our 400th follow here on YouTube, on Twitch. Let's see. Let's have a look.
So we're up to the 13th.
So the 13th. So Where the Heart Leads comes out on PS4 and PS5. Lost at Sea on the 15th of PS5. Little Witch Academia VR Broom Racing is coming on the 15th as well. The 16th we'll have F1 2021 on PS4 and PS5. Observer System Redux on PS4. And then when does that? What have we, 11?
And that's it.
And that's it. So 3 major games coming out next week. Little Witch Academia, like one of the, I've talked about those key mailer websites that we use. That's been on there for what feels like 100 years. So it's been like
What feels like 100 years.
yeah. And I did put in a review request for Where the Heart Leads. So I did see it in a state of play once, and it looked awesome. Yeah. So that's pretty exciting. So I'll hopefully hear something about that, which will be cool. But yeah, there you go. It's quiet. As this is quiet.
It is quiet. It'll be quiet until September at this point.
Yeah, September looks fucked right now.
Because I think someone put in the chat earlier. we've still got Ghostwire Tokyo.
That's next. That's gonna be next year.
That is next year, is it?
And for Spoken's next year as well.
For what I feel, my biggest thing that I'm looking forward to at this point is December 7th. Dying Light 2.
Yeah, that might be the big.
That's
big
all I'm
bang
seeing at
there,
the end of my tunnel at the moment. The light at the end of my tunnel is a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, like September's gonna have a lot. It's gonna be a tight month. But yeah, as I said, like in terms of actual release dates, it is pretty quiet at the back end of the year because no one's really announcing anything because no one's confident they can commit to it. Excuse me. So it's just kind of look. COVID's fucked, and it's fucked everything, and it's also fucked game development. So it has pushed everything back by however long that country has been affected, wherever they're based out of. So whether it be 8 months, 12 months, 15 months,
Yeah.
we are going to see that ripple effect. It does mean the next couple of years are going to be gnarly and good for game releases, but it means in the interim, it's going to suck. It sucked reasonably last year. It's going to suck this year for sure, and I think it will roll into 2022, and then things will start going ham again. But we are at the end of the show. Big thank you, everyone, for joining us. As always, we do this show each and every week. It's part of the spiel that Max is about to do. And we record it live here on Twitch, and we go up on your services. And we always love having you involved. As we look at the chat, we see a bunch of names that have been actively involved today, and I really, really appreciate it. Do it, Max.
Well, everybody, this PlayStation conversation happens every Monday morning at 8 a.m. on podcast services, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and 9 a.m. on those YouTubes. If you'd like to take part in future conversations with us, come and check out our socials: Facebook, Discord, Instagram, and Twitter. All of those links can be found in the description below.
If you want to join us as the conversation happens, head over to twitch.tv/thepopcultures, where you can watch us record this show live. We can jump in the chat and you can become part of the show. If you want to support the show, you can by telling your friends, telling your family about this PlayStation pod. If you are on Apple Podcasts or other podcast services, be sure to give us a 5-star rating and a written review. If you are on YouTube, be sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment below. We endeavor to answer every single comment. And if you want to support the show financially, you can patreon.com/thepopcultures, as well as our merchandise store, popculture.com/shop, where you can buy shirts and other assorted shit with our logos on it. And until next week, I'm Ryan Betson.
I'm Max Cooper.
And that was For the Players.
Don't forget, next week is also a Sunday recording for those who watch live.
Yes, on Twitch, we're wrestling again. Yeah.
Woo. Woo. Woo.